All right, good morning, everybody. What's left of the morning now, getting a little late. Thanks so much for coming. Just kind of get a lay of the land here. How many of you are classroom teachers, currently in the classroom? Awesome. Technology coordinators, integration coaches. Wow, great. Administrators. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so, so important. Any technical folks, more IT folks? Sweet. I like it. I like it.
Higher ed.
Higher ed. How many of you could probably raise your hand in several of those categories? Yeah, that would be me too. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I will let you know that this session is being taped. So if you choose to throw things, try to throw them so that they're going to show really well in the image. You know, you want to make sure it looks good. We are going to get started. This session is called Design Your Digital Tattoo, about helping students to create a positive digital image. Okay, so if you've realized now, you are in the wrong place. Also, the QR code. It's being a little funky today. It's working with some readers and being a little odd with others. It is just taking you to the site at the bottom there, adinaeducation.net. So sometimes it's easier to type that in rather than use the QR code. Okay? And I will let you know about that again. Okay, so we're going to back up just a moment here.
Like the singing bird and the croaking toad, I've got a name, I've got a name, and I carry it with me like my daddy did.
What's the matter with the clothes I'm wearing? Can't you tell that your tie's too wide? I'm more less than the silver pocket.
So, as you read through those questions, think about how you would answer those for yourself and how your students would answer some of those for themselves. Especially when we start talking about, do you feel pressure to live up to a certain standard? Are you hearing one thing from your parents about what you should be, and you think that because your friends are doing something online, you should be doing that too? Our kids are under some very different pressures than we were, and it's always been like that. Every generation has a different set of pressures. But now we have these digital pressures that are there. So we're going to take a look at designing a positive digital image with students. My name is Adina Sullivan. I am a teacher on special assignment, educational technology specialist. It's way too long. I work in San Marcos, California. Not quite the San Marcos, closer to here, slightly further away, and that's in the San Diego area. It's in northern San Diego County. So we're going to go ahead and get going here. When we talk about tattoos, we're going to look at tattoos and how that relates now in our culture and how it's kind of has a history going back. And the first evidence of tattoos that scientists have found go back 5,200 years. And they found a really, really well-preserved man in Italy, and there were tattoos he had in various places, up and down his spine, on his hands, around various joints. And they took a look at that, as well as evidence of other tattoos in various cultures around the world, and looked at what tattoos meant. What have they meant over time? Historically, why did people tattoo? One of the reasons was medicine. They have found that on this particular man that they found and other evidence that they have, that tattoos were often used for medical purposes. They have found tattoos that are right where you would find acupuncture points now. And this is long before that information was around. There was some evidence of it based on tattoos. So now, today's version. Okay. I think this is brilliant. Okay. One of the other reasons that they found for tattoos had to do with love. Okay. We see lots of these. And think about this in a digital way. You think of, let's go back to the medicine. People are posting, they might check in on Foursquare when they go into the doctor's office. They might be talking about something that they're going through medically. We post those things online now. Love, well, there's all kinds of things posted online about love. There's lots of evidence for that. Religion. Serenity prayer. People still have lots of tattoos now that have to do with their religious beliefs. Just plain decoration. This one stuck out to me. We were snorkeling a couple weeks ago, and snorkeling along, and you see shark. And I was, oh, cool, sharks. So some sharks. It's awesome. So decoration, we find lots of tattoos now that are also just decorative. Think about what students are posting online, what we're posting online that's just for fun, just because you like it. Anything that's a meme. If any of you have posted Angry Cat. Okay? All those things that are just, they're just decorative, they're just fun. Status. Next one's my favorite. Rock on. Okay. Isn't that awesome? So we look at now, we talk about posting your status, updating your status. What is it that you want people to know about you? What do you want to post that says who you are? And then there was this one. I didn't know what else to do with it, but I really liked it. Yeah, let's keep a little to-do list on there. Okay. Then there's regret. And studies are showing, and there was a study in England that was done that showed that up to about a third of people were regretting the tattoo choices they had made. In the United States, the number for laser removal was up 43% between 2010 and 2011. It sounded like a good idea at the time. And then whatever happened, the weekend was over, whatever happened, you decided you needed a job, something. That regret is there. And so laser removal for tattoos is up. Well, our students aren't quite understanding that what they post online is very much the same. It seemed like a good idea at the time. But now, the weekend's over, I've left the party, I broke up with whoever it was, and there's that regret. With tattoos, if you want to remove it, it takes a lot of time. This is not a one-shot deal. Anyone ever go through a laser removal for a tattoo? It takes multiple sessions. It is painful. They say it feels like a rubber band being snapped on you repeatedly. It's expensive. There's often scarring, and there's often still an outline or shadow of it still there. It doesn't entirely go away. Well, digital image is now the new digital tattoo. We always talked about a digital footprint. Well, a footprint can be erased. You can clean a footprint. You can smooth away a footprint. A footprint can go away. What you do online is not a footprint. It's a tattoo. It doesn't ever entirely go away. I was working with some pre-service teacher candidates this last semester, and we were discussing this, and they kind of really didn't take it too seriously. And the ages ranged from 21 to 62, I think, was the range of ages in that class. And we had them do a little search. Say, do you even know what's out there about yourself? And they just kind of looked at me. So let's do a little search. And they realized that some of the things that were out there about them, whether they had posted or someone else had posted it, was going to be a problem now that they wanted to teach in public education. It's out there. All right, what if? So I, in case you hadn't noticed already, didn't necessarily grow up as a digital native. Slightly older than that. My parents didn't get on computers. Today we have parents on computers all the time. They're posting things about their kids, kids posting things about themselves. So I thought, well, what if this were true for me? So my brother and I think I'm 6 and that one he's 4. Now, this is a picture that very few people have seen until today. It's been locked away nicely. At the time, these clothing choices seemed like a good idea. Now, not so much. I won't be telling my brother that he's up there, by the way. He'd be horrified to know he's up there in those nice plaid pants and that groovy shirt. So, even though that's there, my parents chose those. My mom would say, but that's all they had at the store. You can't blame me. That would be my parents chose that. Let's go up a little further to high school. This is about 10th grade. I loved that shirt. The prairie look was in. The ruffles and the big sleeves, and if you were lucky, it had the poofs and shoulder pads. It was great. This would have been a picture that would have been posted online. Oh, that's scary. Okay? For me, digital life didn't start until about the time of AOL. Remember the 5 bazillion CDs you'd collect from America Online? For most people, that was the beginning of their lives online. And then we go to 1998 and Google comes around. Then 2004, we get to Facebook. And then 2006, Twitter. So for me, that's sort of the timeline of when my life would be online. Think about where it is for you. Where did you kind of come into being online and having a digital presence? Who was in charge of that digital presence? Someone else, or were you in charge of it? You did it. Most of us didn't have our parents putting things on there. It was things that we had done, whether it was emails, getting into chat rooms, getting onto listservs. Remember listservs? Yeah, roll that back. We were in charge of that. Today, they say that over 90% of people in the U.S. have some sort of digital image. By what age? Age 2. And this number is a couple of years old, so if you think about it, it's probably higher than that now. Okay. Let's look at teens and texting. How many times would you estimate a month that teens text? know it's a high number. Break that down by day. It's over. I mean, that's staggering. And we wonder that, you know, everyone's down like this. We are all creating things that are part of our digital image, part of our digital tattoo. You know, we now in the news, it's, you know, what is the government seeing? What are they not seeing? Things are changing over time. Things that we thought would never, ever, ever possibly be seen by anybody. Maybe it's not so true anymore. So then we talk about privacy. This is the intersection of the internet and privacy. Now, most of us in this room understand this. Your average 8-year-old, how well do they understand this? How many teenagers even understand this? That you can't expect to have privacy when you have things on the internet. You can have some controls. There are some things you can do to help that a bit. But really, once it's out there, it's no longer in your control. So what? We know it's there. What about it? Well, higher education. There's all kinds of data out there showing that institutions of higher education are looking at digital images as they're having students apply. What's out there about you? It's no longer just, you know, the essay and the application. What else do we know about you? Getting a job. Employers aren't necessarily looking themselves, but are hiring other firms to do it. Having, as part of the applicant screening, so that it doesn't become something that's illegal where, oh, we looked you up and this is what we found, but as part of the applicant screening process, they're looking at the applications, and part of what the outside companies are doing is also looking at what's out there about you. Does it match what you're saying on your application? Financial. Looking at insurance, looking at loans. All right, then there's the really bad things. And this is something that students really need to understand. I am warning you, I'm not going to click on any of the next slide, any of the links on the next slide. This is a warning. If you are easily offended, do not go to any of the following sites. Okay. Public shaming. No homophobes. These are two sites where folks are kind of gathering things that are out there that people are doing that are really not cool. Every time someone uses a gay slur, that's so gay, which kids use all the time. You know, men often much worse. Public shaming, where people are just, there was a whole list that I saw about President Obama and some of the things people said. And regardless of how you feel about him as a president, that's your business. But people were saying some really evil, ugly, nasty things and thinking that it was just going out to their friends, so it didn't matter until it ends up on something like this. The 35 dumbest things ever said on the internet. I'm sure these folks that are listed on there would be horrified and never intended it to be something that the entire world saw. Again, you think it's just your friends that are seeing it. And then there are efforts now to try to help students to understand this better. So trying to help student athletes understand social media. Think of all the stories you've heard about athletes doing really, really not smart things in public and getting caught. You know, holding up bundles of money after they just signed a contract. Yeah, not wise. Getting into trouble that's so easily searchable. So helping them to understand that. Saying things, professional athletes saying things on Twitter that you're just like, are you kidding me? Do you have any clue? And they don't. They really, really don't. Regret. So just like with the tattoo that you may have inked on, which there's nothing wrong with that, but if you were to not like it, you might have that regret. The same thing with our digital images, our digital tattoos. People are having regrets and then trying to take it back. Well, remember that diagram? You're not taking it back all the way. So here's an example, way too close to home for me. This may or may not be someone in my household. Class in less than 36 hours with 9-hour drive tomorrow. 0 bleeps to give. This was posted on Facebook. Now this is she was then 21, now 22. She had taken a road trip to see some friends up in Sacramento. She is a straight A honors student who's going pre-med. Good idea? Not so much. We might have had a little talk after that. Okay. And again, trying to get rid of it takes time. Having to go back through and try to untag yourself from all these photos. Having to try to remove posts. Trying to delete pages. Trying to get rid of all this takes tons of time. You can hire companies to do it, which they really can't do any more than you can do. What they do is try to put enough positive up there that those will show up in the first set of results when you do a search rather than all the negative things. So it just tries to push all the negative things down. Scars, outline, there's still going to be traces of it there. You can't entirely get rid of it. Okay? InternetArchive.org. Anyone ever use this? Yeah. So I did a little search, and I used classroom2.0.com as what I did my search on, because this was one of the places where I really started interacting online professionally. And I did a search, and you see this goes back to June 2007. I don't know what I said in 2007. I hope it wasn't really dumb, but it could have been. You can do this for a site. Now, I could have gone through in the meantime and gotten rid of something that wasn't so good, but it's still going to be there. You can go back and find it. Okay? But then there are opportunities. We have to not just do scare tactics. Students need to understand what's out there and how it can impact them, but we have to go past the scare tactics. We have to go into what can you do that's going to make this positive. There are opportunities. So that 2007 date was also really interesting to me because 2 years ago, I received a couple of phone calls and emails from a couple of national education publications, well, actually one state, one national publication, that they said, we'd like to interview you about blah, blah, blah topic. My first thought was, did you dialed wrong? Okay. And I said, well, all right, so, where did you hear about me? And they said, oh, Classroom 2.0. And I hadn't been on there in a long time. So she referenced what it was that I had said, and I had no idea what she was talking. So I went back and looked, and sure enough, it was a post from 2007. Now, it worked out well. It worked out to be an opportunity for me. Putting positive things out there, we can create opportunities for ourselves and for our students. What are the factors that impact this? What can we do? So first, from the student's point of view. Social media. Besides just putting out pictures of you and your friends at parties and the silly thing you heard someone say on campus, what are the positive things you could put out there on social media? Are there tips you could send to someone? Is there a blog post that you think would be really great for someone to see? What are the positive things out there? Blog posts and responses. A lot of students are setting up their own blogs even outside of school or responding to other blogs, posting things and responding to things on YouTube. Wouldn't it be nice if they did some positive things instead of all the scary things we see them post up there? Okay. Academic portfolio. Having an academic portfolio that they can take with them to higher education, take with them as they're going into employment, take with them as they're going for an internship. Interest portfolio. What do you do outside of school? What else are you interested in? It's perfectly valid to have a portfolio for that too and have it online. News articles. Athletes who have done something well, great. Volunteering in the community, working with younger students. What are they doing that's positive? Let's help them get that out there. This is an example of a site that a high school student, this is a sophomore at Science Leadership Academy in Philadelphia, and it's not showing up too well. It says Win Gary Design, and then we have Design Portfolio and Art Portfolio. This is a sophomore. Further down, this is what it says. I'm a young graphic designer. I live in Philadelphia. I'm a sophomore at SLA. I'm an intern at Plus Us, a building hero, a chicken farmer, etc. Is this not an interesting kid? Okay. Yeah, the chicken farmer, I don't know how that fits in, but I think it's great. What else do you do that's not just the school stuff? What else are you interested in? If you were going to be hiring an intern for your firm, and you saw something like this kid's got half a shot. And then when you click on it, when you go to it, it has some of his art information, some of his design that he has up there. Getting onto the news, being awarded. Are we promoting students? Are we sending things out there? Are we helping them to get some attention for the positive things that they're doing? Parents. Parents are now the first way that students have an online image. Social media posts and pics. I have friends that don't post anything except what their kids do. Every month, there's a new baby picture with the new sign that's, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, all the way along. Look, we went swimming. Look, we did this. And there's no pictures of them. It's all of their kids. Flickr, photo sharing. Sharing photos all over the place. Are we sharing things that are going to be horribly embarrassing for this child at some point? Are we sharing things that they're going to be cute, they're going to be nice, it shows what we do as a family? A personal blog. I know several colleagues who set up personal blogs because of either the struggles they were going through as a family and trying to work through them, going through adoption, out-of-country adoption, all these blogs that are going on that families are starting. This is, again, part of that student's digital image. They're included there too. Personal domain. More and more parents are purchasing a domain for their child. So that, if you named your child, sadly the one that comes up is one I don't want to use, a certain celebrity that they gave their child a really special name. You know who I mean. You named your child Dave Marlowe. If you put in Dave Marlowe in a search, they want their child to come up and have control over their domain and not have it end up with something else. I know I own 4 for me that have different versions of my name or my username that I frequently use, so that I have control over that. I know what's coming up, and I'm not going to be confused with somebody else. School. What can we do as educators to help students build this digital image? So, digital stories. Are you having them do digital stories, whatever content area it is, and then what are you doing with them? Are you posting them somewhere that they can be seen? Are you sharing them? Are you putting them into some kind of format the student can take with them? Wikis, blogs, digital literacy and citizenship. Are we actively teaching our students about digital literacy and citizenship? Hopefully you're doing it in terms of content, so that it becomes a natural part of curriculum. But we have to actively do this. This is not something we can push off on families. If you were to ask the parents at your school the best way to search for something online, what are they going to tell you? Google. And Google is a fantastic tool. How many of them do you think know how to use advanced search in Google? Okay. Very small number. How many of them are probably doing things with their digital image that are probably not such a good idea? Okay? They're probably not the ones we want to saddle with the full responsibility of helping our students get there. So we need to actively help with this. Strong, secure passwords. Are we teaching students how to create strong, secure passwords? Think of how many times students have hijacked someone else's login because it was way too easy to know their password. Because students don't understand about not sharing passwords. Well, they're my best friend. I can share it with them. Guess what? You can't share that with them. Next week, that's not your best friend. That was your best friend, but they told somebody else because they thought they could trust them, and now you're done. Okay? I think we need to do a much better job of this. Videos. Are we helping students put together videos that show what they can do, that show who they are? And again, what are we doing with them? Are we putting them out there for others to see? Are we making them available? Are we, again, putting them into a format that students can take with them? And portfolios. We are, in my district, there's 17 schools, and one of the schools is just becoming an International Baccalaureate candidate school. And one of the things that they have to do with that is have student portfolios. So we're working with that and getting them set up and creating templates and all of the tutorials and all of that to help them do that. And we're doing that in Google Sites. That's one option. There are lots of ways you can help students create a digital portfolio. And even if at your school or your district, your grade level, your content area, you're not using portfolios, it would be a really, really good idea for you to still help students understand how they could do that for themselves. Okay. Now, there's two schools of thought about how you deal with students online in a classroom. Do you use their real name when you're having them do work online, or do you use a pseudonym? And this is something that's a really, really tough one, and there's no good single answer. Part of it may depend on age. Part of it depends on the policies of your school and your district. Before you make this decision for yourselves, find out what those policies are. Okay. Personally, I think that real names should be used, but under age 13, I don't think the full name should be used. You need to figure out what makes sense in your area, what makes sense with your policies, and kind of think ahead, what is this going to mean down the road for this student? All right, investigation tools. One of the things you need to do is find out what is your digital image right now. What does that tattoo look like right now? And there are lots of ways to do that. The first one, what's the very first one we all know? Google. Google yourself. Which, think about what that would sound like 20 years ago if you told someone to go Google themselves. Okay. Things change over time. The way we do things now is not going to be the way students are going to do things down the road. So we want to show them how to do it in different ways, how to use different resources. So regardless of what tool you use, and I would start with Google, is log out. If you're signed into Chrome, log out of Chrome. If you're signed in anything else, log out, because that's going to affect the results that come up. Put your name in quotes so that you're coming up with just your full name and not just your name with just the first name or just the last name. Usernames. If you have a particular username that you use on social media in various places, search for that as well. So for example, for me, I would search for Adina Sullivan as two separate names. I would search for Adina Sullivan all together because that's my Twitter handle. It's what I use for various things. And I would search for Adina Education because that's another name that I use. And look to see what comes up under each one. Some will be the same, some won't. Okay. Some other tools. People.com. This is what comes up when I type in my name in people.com. Now, if you just look in the center there, you see that there's 6 photos. Only one of those is me. The other 5 have nothing to do with me. At the top, you can see you've got various options there. probably not 30 or 29. Okay. One of those up there is Adina M. Sullivan, 45 years old, and it's got various cities. I'm a really private person. Really, really private person. There's lots of things I make sure I'm not in directories for, that I have, pieces of it removed, things that I don't share. When I share things on Facebook or Twitter, I'm pretty private with it. And I'm showing you all these that have me because you need to understand it's not entirely private. There's a lot that's there that you wouldn't expect is there about yourself. Okay. Specify.com is another one. And you can search for, if you go on the right-hand side, you can check off a little, under settings, you can do the check, and then you can choose to look in specific sites. Or you can not check that and just see what comes up. So for me, all these images come up. Now this one, even though my name is in quotes, also comes up with a certain singer that I really prefer not to be associated with, that just has my first name and not my last name. Most of those are me. All the ones at the top row, through the middle there, all the ones on the right-hand side and the bottom are not me. Personas.media.mit.edu. This is kind of a cool one because it looks through and looks at what you're identified with and kind of makes a little visual graph. This is one that doesn't work for me. It works for many people, it doesn't work for me. When I do a search here, it says I'm not found at all. Well, I was found on those other ones. I'm out there. But it can't find me. So you want to use different searches. Here's an example of one, though. I used a friend's name. And it comes up with these different areas that she is associated with. I need to talk to her about that one. I don't really know what that's about. And shows how much you're associated with them. So education is the one that comes up the most for her, as well as online and management, which makes sense for her. Okay? So it kind of gives you a little visual. Intellius.com is another one, and a lot of these are really made so that someone else can find you, someone else can search for you. Okay? And again, I haven't logged in to any of these yet, and we're finding all kinds of things. So Intellius, I haven't logged into this, and yet that top one's me. It knows a lot. Okay? Even knows my mother's name, which is a little, yeah, ooh, uh-huh. There's so much more about us that's out there that we don't even think about. We need to be helping our students understand how to look for what's associated with you. And once you find out, what can you do to make it more true to who you are? Socialmention.com is one I just learned about yesterday. Looking just at the social media sites. And again, this one doesn't find me. I did a sample one, though, for Nelson Mandela. And here's what it does. It looks at different places in social media where that name is mentioned. Who's mentioning them? Is it positive, negative, or neutral? How often it's mentioned? And all the different places it's mentioned, and it keeps going down. You see this one has 236 mentions. And you can change the time period you're searching for. Cred.com. I don't particularly care for this one as much, because the way you get into this one is you do have to log in. And so you have to log in with either Twitter or Facebook. Personally, I really, 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 really try to avoid anything that requires me to log in using a different service. I may be on Twitter and trust what's going on there, and I can monitor that. But can I monitor all these other things that I've now attached to it? That's a little scary. What if this site, something were to happen to it and it were to be hacked? Does that mean all my information on Twitter and data about me on Twitter or on Facebook is now out there as well, further than I expected it to be? I try to avoid this. I don't like these ones that require you to connect with another service you already have. You need to do what's right for you. I prefer not to. This is what it comes up, though. I did go ahead and, just for demonstration purposes, try it out. And again, it's looking at the different words that you use, how often you use them, who's mentioning you, who are you mentioning, all this kind of thing. So if that's important to you, great. This is not something. I immediately disconnected everything after I did the demo and removed it. You can also look back through time. This one will let you look back about 2 years. Spokeo. Now, this is an example of one of the ones that seems like it's going to be free, and it's not. This is one of the ones where you type in the information, and you can look at, you can see name, email, phone, username, address, and you type it in, and you're going to get a set of results. Oops. A set of results, but you're not really getting the results. It shows you all these places it looks, and then if you actually want to look at it, it'll say, oh, would you like to pay $3.95 for 3 months, or for 6 months, or $4.95 for 3 months? And you'd have to pay to get the results. You have plenty of other options out there. Okay? So here's what I would like you to do. We're going to take just a couple of minutes. If you've never searched for yourself on Google, try that. If you pretty much know what's there, try a couple of these other ones and find out what's there about you, what's there about your kids. Okay? So I'm going to go back through them so you can see them. So we had people.com, P-I-P-L. If you use it in any way, I would try it again. I usually will do it in multiple times. I will search for just my first and last. I will try it with my middle initial because sometimes that shows up on things. And any usernames that I have, I will search for them each separately. We also had personas. See if this one works for you. It can't find me out there, but it does work. Personas through MIT, it also has some additional information. It's not just the search. They have other details as well on there. Intellius, this is the kind of search that someone would do, like I said, if they were searching for you, trying to find you. See what people can find out about you. And again, about your kids. And social mention. Okay. So take a couple minutes, try out a couple of them, see what's out there. See if you find anything that you didn't expect to find, that maybe is about you, or maybe someone who has your name and you really would prefer not to be associated with them. See what is out there about you. I would again do both. Anybody find anything that you forgot was out there? Anything out there that you were surprised about? You look good. For 63, you look awesome. I say stick with that. The very The first time I tried to search for myself on Google, the only references I could find was for a quilter in Australia. She had some beautiful work. Now when I search, I come up more often because now I have more that's out there. So we had people, specify, personas, intellius, social mention. Okay. Now, education resources. What is out there and available to help you work with students? Some of you may already have programs at your sites in your districts going. Some of you don't, and you want to start doing things before your district finally gets on board with that. You have lots of resources available to you. So here's a list of them. The first one starting with Google, and we're going to take a look at these a little more closely. There is a Scoop It page mentioned on there. It's one of many Scoop It pages, and it's not mine. One of many Scoop It pages having to do with digital citizenship. If you're not familiar with Scoop It, it's a way to curate sources, curate websites and information. If you just search Scoop It, it's scoop.it, and digital citizenship, you'll find lots and lots of Scoop It pages where folks are curating information about digital citizenship, digital literacy, cyberbullying. Okay, lots of resources out there. So, first of all, Google. Google has a really cool set of resources. They've got lots of educator resources. But they have this set about understanding YouTube and digital citizenship. These lessons are 5 to 50 minutes. And these are the topics that they go through. So everything from, why is YouTube different, to how do you tell truth from lies, cyberbullying, copyright, which is probably a good thing for YouTube users to know, copyright, and then additional resources and parent resources. Okay. So the links are all, again, all of the entire presentation is at adinaeducation.net. If you miss any of these links, you can always go back there. And I'll be adding to the materials that are on that site as well. commonsensemedia.org. This is the one, yeah, I really, really like this. This is the one that my district is now going to be using. We were one of those that was sadly far behind in our efforts to do digital citizenship and digital literacy. And so we're going to be using the Common Sense Media materials K-12, and every student will have at least one lesson every year. Now, one lesson a year seems really, really like nothing. It's better than nothing. It's a start. It's something, at least they're getting something because they've been getting this. Okay, they've been getting 0. And their materials, you can see at the bottom, they're separated by level. You'll find this particular page if you go to commonsensemedia.org and search for E-rate or search for SIPA. The nice thing about this is that with the materials comes a document that when you sign it certifies that yes, you have met the requirements for E-rate and SIPA regarding teaching your students about digital citizenship and digital literacy. Okay. If your district or site gets E-rate dollars, this is really important, and it's now a requirement that you have to show this. They can audit you now and ask you to show that every student is receiving this information. And so Common Sense Media kind of puts it together in a nice, easy way. And they have 2 different setups. They have one setup where you can choose specific grade levels that you want to hit, and then there's going to be several lessons. Or you can say, no, we just want to do 1 lesson a year. I mean, it's 1 lesson a year except for a couple of grades. I think 6th grade and maybe one other grade have 2 lessons. And you don't have to be an expert in this content in order to do these lessons. All the material is right there. It walks you right through it. Okay, really easy to use. Common Sense Media also has, you see, Educate Families up there. There's lots of resources for parents. So when you need a site to send parents to where they can learn more about this and helping their child to understand it better and how to, it has everything from game reviews to movie reviews, ways to help parents really get some additional information that's useful to them regarding digital citizenship, digital literacy, online image. Netsmarts.org, which comes from the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. You know, they have, again, they've got things separated out into different categories. There's some good stuff here. I prefer the Common Sense Media, but I think it's because I've looked at it a little more than this. But NetSmarts is another resource that's there. digitaltattoo.ubc.ca. They also tweet at @digitaltattoo. Okay. And this is one of the sites that has a lot of materials that go with it. So it references the digital dossier. I don't know if you've seen that video on YouTube, digital dossier. That's connected here. Be Findable is another search. So on the side here, it talks about the digital dossier, Be Findable. It has a lot of, again, materials to help students understand how to really create a positive digital image and what that means and how it can be beneficial for them. So it's a really, really great resource. It is aimed more at older students. This isn't so much for the elementary kids. This really is more for middle school, high school is more where they're aimed. And then just looking at research, there is research that's out there. Research is tough, though, in this area because things are changing so quickly. Okay. But the Pew Research Center does have Reputation Management in Social Media. It's a PDF that you can get that talks about how teens view their digital identity, how to monitor and search for others, and how they do that and how people feel about that. So that's a study that can be helpful for you. Okay. All right. Again, the resources, the presentation and some additional citations and resources will be at adinaeducation.net. Okay? Evaluations are a really, really important part of the ISTE program. So if you would please, at some point, if you would go to either on the mobile site or on the website, and if you would search for either my name or the title of the presentation, and you will come to a page that has the presentation link on it. There it is. And you'll see underneath the description it says evaluate this session. This is where you'll find the evaluations for each of the sessions you attend. So for any of the ones you attend, again, the evaluations are really important. If you'll just go there and do that quick evaluation, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. Before I let you go, any big questions, comments, or concerns about digital tattoo? Just found the arrest record, think we're okay. Although that does bring up a point, though. So, yeah. Ooh, okay. Erase. So besides the image that I showed you of a certain person who may or may not be in my household, she or may not have a brother who was arrested. It happens. It happens. We prefer it didn't. Really, we prefer it didn't. He got picked up for a DUI. How did we find all the information about his DUI? Quick search online. Really, really quick. Okay? So it's out there. We want to teach students to be safe. We want to teach them about what's out there, how to manage that, and managing that in a way that's going to create a positive digital image of themselves as they move forward.
Just to further your metaphor, so I had a tattoo when I got when I was 24 and had to make a decision tattoo over it, which I like very much, and it's much prettier. It's what you see first. There's still a shadow of the old one underneath it, but I just think your metaphor is really good.
Thank you, and that's perfect. So for those of you who couldn't hear that, she was saying that, you know, she had a tattoo and then decided at a certain point didn't really care for it anymore and had to make the decision about what to do about it. And rather than going the route of trying to remove it, chose to have another one placed there to kind of camouflage it and have a much prettier one that she was really happy with. But you can still see, if you really look, you can still see the old one there. So they're never, our students aren't ever going to get rid of what's out there. But you can try to make more positive things and put more positive things out there so that that's what people see first. Okay? And that's what you want to help students do. So one suggestion I have, so she asked about, you know, you might be willing to go there, but others may not be willing to go there at your site, at your grade level, your district. So how do you handle that? Common Sense Media, I still would use that as the, for me, I would still use that as the source. What some schools have done is they've had, for example, their library media specialist go through it as a lesson with each class that comes through so that make sure that everyone's getting it and hearing the consistent message. That's one way to go about it. I still think it's best to do it with content, with the work you're doing. Okay, we're going to be blogging. Let's talk about how, you know, this all fits in. We're going to be using email for this, whatever. But sometimes, you're right, it's just not possible. And you're going to hit this many kids, and you really want to make sure you get everybody. Having your library media specialist or someone else that has kids, that has all the kids for at least a little bit of time, carve out one lesson that they can do there. Every little bit helps. Yes?
Yeah, we're actually really happy with Common Sense Media. I'm just curious, can't we steal your presentation? We were actually going to develop a lesson for our high school kids about how to manage their digital profile and how to fix it once it's screwed up. Is there anything out there that's already sort of set that does that? We didn't find anything in Common Sense Media beyond just here's why you're doing that.
Right.
Nothing about how to fix it.
Step 1, step 2, that would be great.
It was, you know what, I would look at the digital tattoo let me go back to, the digital tattoo UBC whatever that one was. I would look there because they have a couple of links there with Digital Dossier and the Be Findable, where they have some good materials that may be helpful for that. There are definitely other resources that have materials too, but these are the ones that I tend to look at. And you may have to piecemeal things a bit, to be honest, to make it fit for your particular situation. But I would start by looking there.
I had read something online a while back about some schools that are going one-to-one and requiring their kids to get a digital driver's license.
Yes.
I couldn't figure out like what program or what they were using to do that.
So the ones that I've heard of that do that, so what she mentioned was there are some sites that, you know, if they're going to go one-to-one, the students have to have kind of like a digital driver's license. They have to go through some education and prove that they understand, show their knowledge about this before they're allowed to actually start participating. The ones that I know that have done that, there isn't a specific program they use. It's whatever they have set up. So it could be Common Sense Media. It could be that they've set up something in their learning management system that walks kids through it. One of our sites was going to do something where it was basically the kids had to attend, before school started, they had to attend a session and sit through the session and then, you know, take a little quiz, and then they could do it. So I don't know of anyone who has a specific program for that. It's just whatever they're choosing to do their education with. Part of what happens at the end is when you show your knowledge that you understand this, what you get is now, okay, now I'm allowed to take this device and go. Okay?
Just to that point, Common Sense is developing, it may already have it out, but a digital passport, which is the same sort of thing. Check their booth on the exhibit for.
Yeah, it's been out for a bit, and it's not it's pretty specific as far as the grade range that it's for, and I think it's around 4th. I could be totally wrong on that. But so they do have the digital passport through Common Sense Media as well. Okay. I will be happy to stay answer any questions, but thank you so much for being here, and have a great rest of your time at the ISTE.